In this workshop, we have a laundry list of things that we are going to cover, folks, to get you all prepared. For those of you who may be tenured in home ownership but new to lawn maintenance, for those of you who may be new to home ownership and new to all types of home maintenance as well, and for those of you who are just looking for maybe another tip or two to kind of refine what your process may be, even if you are paying for some level of lawn service, there could be some things that you could be missing that you could do yourself, or maybe ask your lawn service to take care of for you. So we want you to know what to look for. So we're going to talk about tools and products that are going to aid you in this process. We're going to talk about the raking, the mowing, the aerating. Yes, some of you are like, what is aerating? We'll talk about that in great detail. Proper fertilization and overseeding if necessary, and definitely talk about the very important practice of ordering. It is not as simple as it may sound, but it can be once we give you some highlights and some tips, if you will. And if you all are looking to plant some spring bulbs, this is the season to plant them in the fall season right now. So, without further ado, let's dive right into it. I want to tell you right now up front, a lot of stuff I'm going to talk about on the front end, just products and tools. As we kind of journey throughout the workshop, then I'll tell you when to use them, how to use them, and if you need to use them. Okay. So when we're talking about this, not just for fall lawn prep, but any lawn prep season, spring or fall. But since we're talking fall, I want you to know how to properly choose your fertilizer. There are a couple of different types out there. There are liquids and there are granules. Okay. Now, with that even being said, they're not all created equally. There will be certain fertilizers that you will use for a certain type of tree or shrub. There will be other types of fertilizers that you will use just for grass, certain types of bulbs, or certain types of flowering trees and bushes and things of that nature. So I want you to pay attention as you're purchasing fertilizer. Don't just grab a bag because it's featured somewhere in the location that you buy your fertilizer. Don't just buy it because it's on the end cap, or don't just buy it because it's on sale. Make sure that you're reading the actual label of the contents. And this goes for if it's a liquid and if it's an actual granular as well. What's in the actual bag? So I'm going to kind of show you a little small example. This is the fertilizer brand that I buy. And the specific type that I buy says tree and shrub and evergreen fertilizer. Evergreen means the trees, they don't lose their leaves. So that means that every other tree that's not an evergreen, they're deciduous. That means that they lose their leaves in the fall. This is not the fertilizer for them because this clearly says evergreen fertilizer. But something else to take a look at too as well. There are three numbers that will always be on the front or somewhere on the packaging of the container or the bag of fertilizer that you capture. I'm going to give you some insight to what those are because these different numbers apply to different chemicals that do different things. First number is going to always apply to the nitrogen content in the actual container. All right, nitrogen. All right, so this is the percentage per weight of the actual bag. All right, what nitrogen does for any fertilizer is it takes care of everything above the surface. Okay, so it takes care of all the greenery, all the blooms that you see above the surface. This goes for trees, shrubs, grass. All right, any type of ornamental plants that you can think of. So that's what the first number is gonna feed. It's gonna everything that you can see above the surface. The second number is gonna take care of everything that we don't see, basically the root growth. And once again, regardless of what type of landscaping we're talking about, that's what that second number is for. It's to stimulate and to promote root growth. The third number is going to apply to kind of potassium. What that does is it actually kind of fills in the rest. I want you to think about this. If you've ever seen fresh sod laid down, it either comes in like rolls or little small strips of carpet, if you will. As they lay those pieces of sod down, if you look high enough or if you look at a distance far back enough, you will see the seam lines between the sod. Well, what potassium does is kind of help interlock those actual pieces of sod. It takes care of all the in between. So nitrogen takes care of everything above, phosphorus takes care of everything below, and then your potassium takes care of everything all in between. All right. So knowing this will help you understand what those three numbers will do based on what fertilizer that you actually purchase. Now, your fertilizer this is the fertilizer I'm going to actually use for my Blue Point junipers. I'm actually going to use this same fertilizer for my green giant arborvitaes. Okay. Because it tells me on the back of the packaging that this is going to be the best type of fertilizer for those types of trees and shrubs. Okay, now it's going to be different types of fertilizer I'm going to use for my Japanese maples, as well as for some shrubs that I have in my front shrub bed in front of my house. All right, so I want you to just make sure that you're paying attention. And you will see these three numbers, whether it's a liquid or a granular. Some of the granular stuff is a little bit more slow release and gradual release, where liquid fertilizer gives you a little bit more instant gratification. Now, let me pause you right there because I said instant gratification. There are some plants that don't like instant gratification. Some plants like to take their time. I want you to think about if you started going to the gym today and you don't really have much muscle tone. I don't want you taking steroids. I don't want you, loading up a whole container of a protein powder into your next smoothie. You're not going to gain muscle overnight by drinking steroids and all that stuff overnight. So I want you to think the same way about your plants. They need time to grow, watering, sunlight, all the different types of seasons. They need time to grow and to go through their natural process to properly mature. If you over fertilize anything, you can and will probably kill it. Just want to give you some heads up right now. All right. Some additional things that you want to make sure that you know when it comes to, let's say, grass seed, or if it's something that's a really small bulb, I always recommend that you use a granular fertilizer anyway. You don't want to start using the liquid stuff until it's probably gone through 2 springs and two winters, if you will. Okay, that means it's reached some level of maturity for root growth and overall hardiness. So I would stay away from the instant gratification of liquid fertilizer until whatever it is that you're trying to feed, grass, tree, shrub, doesn't make a difference. Wait till it's gone through 2 seasons of cool and 2 seasons of hot. All right. So your spring and your fall/winter, if you will. All right. So that's fertilizers thus far. Now, also think about other products like grass seed. And we're going to talk about the different types of grass seed because there's zoysia, there's bahia, there is centipede, there's St. Augustine, there's Kentucky bluegrass. We'll talk about what grass seed you may have based on where you live in the nation. It will make a difference on which grass seeds will thrive. But as you're starting to buy your grass seed, understand that once again, like fertilizer, they're not created equally either. They like to grow at different times of year. They like certain types of temperatures, if you will, certain climate zones. So I want you to be mindful of that. But if you are looking to purchase grass seed, I need you to understand the difference between this and a regular bag of grass seed. Easy Seed by Scott's or Pennington's One Step. This is a patch product. Let me show you what this looks like real quickly. Show you what this looks like. This actually looks kind of like gerbil food almost. Looks like dirt, if you will. And all it is basically their premium garden soil compressed on top of their grass seed. All right. And what this is for when you have those balding spots in your yard due to dog urine. It could be from grubs eating away at your grass. It could be from you over fertilizing your grass and you burn some patches in your grass because you went with the liquid stuff before you're supposed to, like I told you. All right. So just understand that there's a difference between the One Step. Also, here's another thing that'll give you a clue. On the packaging, you'll see that this only covers 85 square feet. So this will barely take care of a bedroom, maybe a good size full bathroom, if you will. And so that's for small areas. But we'll talk about overseeding and patching a little bit more detailed. But understanding, regardless if it is fertilizer or grass seed, true grass seed, not the easy seed stuff, you need to figure out a proper way to apply it. And that's going to be by way of a spreader, not a red solo cup. That's not a spreader. You could have a walk behind, what they call a broadcast spreader, or you could have a handheld version by Scott. So there are other brands that make them by Vigoro, a number of other brands out there. So a couple of components on here. One, takes 4 AA batteries. It's pretty simple. Get a little Phillips head screwdriver to unscrew this to put your batteries in there. Some of them come with it in there. Also, understand what this knob does. This knob is very important. It has different numbers on there, different settings on there, and there's just a little trigger on there for you to actually activate the actual spreader itself. On the back of any fertilizer that is a granular or any grass seed, All right. It's going to tell you if you had a specific type of spreader, what to actually turn the knob to. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of show you this. I'm going to see if this will focus in real quick. Give it 1 second. All right, there we go. So based on the certain type of fertilizer that you may or may not have, it's going to tell you what number to turn that knob to that I just showed you. All right. Because you want certain things to be applied at a certain pattern or a certain rate, if you will. So it will tell you on the back of your grass seed or the back of your granular fertilizer, depending on which type of spreader you have, handheld or walk behind broadcast spreader, what to turn this knob to, which will determine how much comes out when you pull this trigger. All right. If you overseed or over fertilize, it could basically be a waste of your money and your time. If you overdo it, it could also be a waste of your money and time because now you have to repair the damage that you've done by over fertilizing. All right. So I just want to make sure we're clear there. I want to go back one slide real quick. For those of you who are doing some patchwork as well, they have what they call grass seed mats. A lot of people ask us questions, hey, what does it do? Is it effective? Very effective. And what it does is prevent your neighboring pests, birds, squirrels, and stuff like that. When you put grass seed down, it prevents them from going in and eating away at your grass seed. That grass seed mat typically comes on like a 2 foot by 4 foot roll, sometimes a little bit bigger, sometimes a little bit smaller, depending on the brand that you use. But you will basically use sod staples just to pin it down in place, and you just water it just like you would the rest of your grass. And over a couple of weeks of time, it will kind of start to biodegrade, but to kind of start filling in those low spots as well. But once again, we'll kind of refer back to that as well when we get to our conversation about overseeding and then proper fertilization as well. So just want to kind of show you some products, show you as well some tools for application, some additional things that you are going to need for any time of year when we're talking about prepping your lawn and maintaining your lawn. You want to have yourself a water hose, just in case you want to have some type of oscillating sprinkler and a fan in certain spots that may be low, just need some good saturation. We also recommend a soil sample test kit, which we'll talk about in more detail in just a moment as well. But also having yourself kind of an assortment of some hand tools. I always keep a plastic fan rake on me. This is going to be ideal. Pretty malleable, pretty pliable type of tool. This is going to be good for getting up those leaves that are about to start falling down in droves. A blower is good as well, but it's going to help you get up the loose, dead sprigs of grass that are going to start seeing in your lawn if you're not already seeing them already. And it's kind of a natural process. If you start seeing those white sprigs of grass kind of standing out as you get your grass cut and as time progresses, it's a normal process. You're going to see some dead sprigs. You're going to rake those up loosely with that plastic fan rake, and that's going to aid you in identifying how healthy and how plush your lawn may be. Now, on the other hand, steel tine rake. This is what I use to spread out mulch or to apply any type of rock covering, ground cover, if you will. It's going to be good for kind of digging in a shrub bed where you're trying to put down some new mulch or some new soil. It's got some real good grip teeth on there. And we'll talk more about how to use that rake as well as we start talking about overseeding and aeration as well, folks. It can be. I'm not saying that it will be an issue every single place, but those of you who have large, mature, like oak trees, pine trees, things like that, you have a lot of squirrels, you have a lot of certain types of birds. Certain types of birds may kind of be your biggest enemy when it comes to using some of these products. And so they're using that easy seed mat does kind of help circumvent. The downside to using an easy seed mat, as I told you before, they don't come in very large rolls. So you're not going to be able to buy one roll that's going to be for your entire yard. That's going to kind of be more like a patch situation, like when you're using the easy seed. Why I like the easy seed is because it actually absorbs 6 times its weight in water. And so it actually helps do a pretty phenomenal job pretty quickly for those patch areas that may have occurred for your particular lawn due to lack of watering, over fertilization, and things like that. Generally speaking, you want to have about 1.5 inches of water. Now, how do you know what does 1.5 inches of water look like? You can get yourself a rain gauge. Some people will attach it to an area that gets high saturation. So if you have an oscillating sprinkler or something like that, some people may attach it to like a tree. I've seen some people attach it to a certain part of their house. So that way they know the sprinkler is going to hit that area. and so it kind of catch some of that area as well. Some if you live in a rainy area, like if you live in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle area, some people have a rain gauge naturally installed somewhere. You can hang them from branches as well to kind of see how much rainfall you're actually getting to determine, do you need to water or do you need to let Mother Nature just do her thing? So it just depends on what you're looking for. But we'll go through more detail of what your watering practices should look like despite where you live in the nation. Matter of fact, let's go into our next segment. That's kind of how to kind of start me right off to kind of help you identify some of those things, let you know where does your lawn prep journey really truly need to begin. So we're talking about lawn prep. We're not just talking about using a lawnmower. We're not just talking about using pruning shears to, clip off, dead branches and things like that. So testing your lawn soil. You can buy soil sample test kits for pretty inexpensive, under $20. They have various different types. I what I recommend personally, especially if you've never had your soil tested or you're not sure what signs to look for to determine, is the brown spot caused because of dog urine? Is the brown spot caused because of over fertilization? Sometimes you can cause brown and yellowing spots by oversaturation, and that could be because you had a lot of downpour in the area or you're watering too much in that particular area. It also could be caused by different types of insects like grubs, different types of Japanese beetles could cause those browning spots as well. So having your soil tested, what they recommend, you can find your local county annex, and it's typically somewhere in the governmental area where you go get your license plate tag renewed. There's typically an office that deals with this type of thing. And they may charge you somewhere between, I don't know, 25, maybe up to $50. It will vary based on where you live. So just verify that before you go down there. You're not surprised by whatever the cost is. But what they're going to ask you to do, I would call them first and see what are the requirements for them to do a proper analysis of your soil. And what most soil sample test kits will do, even with this place I'm telling you to go to, they will tell you to go around your yard and dig up about anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of soil in various spots of your lawn. The area that gets a lot of sun, get a couple of spots there. The area that gets partial sun, the morning sun, evening sun, afternoon sun, get a couple of spots there. Go to the area that gets a little to no sun, like between the buffer zone between my house and my neighbor's house. It maybe gets 2 hours of direct sunlight daily because of how close our houses are together. So you'll put those soil samples in like a Ziploc bag, and you'll label them front yard or side of yard or backyard, and then also be more detailed. Front yard, 8+ hours of sun. Side of yard, 4 to 6 hours of sun. Backyard, no sun at all. Right? You'll take all your soil samples down there. They'll do an analysis to tell you, one, is your soil deficient of nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium? Also, they'll tell you what your grass type is. They'll also tell you, hey, based on the climate zone that you live in, city, state, region, they'll tell you, hey, you should put your fertilizer down around this time of year for fall, for spring, things like that. Okay. So that was gonna give you the true determination. Me telling you right here on this virtual workshop what causes your brown spots, I have no idea unless I'm there to kind of assess and kind of look into your grass. But the people who can tell you are the individuals, I'm telling you, your local county extension, and they could do a true soil analysis to give you some ideas. Now, also, you could hire lawn service companies where they can apply certain products during certain times of the year, and they're trained to know based on your climate zone and where you live what it could be. It could probably give you a quicker analysis versus going out to your county extension, because sometimes it takes them a couple of weeks because you're not the only one coming to them. But I want to just give you a couple of resources of where you could reach out to make a determination on what's going on with your lawn before you buy any products, before you apply any grass seed, any fertilizer, any pesticides that could be causing the opportunity for you going forward. All right. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a resource of where to start. You can do a soil sample test kit yourself, use your local county extension, or hire a lawn service that can come out and do a complete analysis of your lawn for you a little bit quicker. But just know you're going to pay a little bit more money for that lawn service versus your county extension. Okay. Now, I mentioned when we get our analysis back, we know what's causing issues. We know, okay, what products, what bugs may be a pest in our area. We know what weeds are an issue, all these different things that may be prevalent for our local area. High level things. Leaves are going to start turning brown and yellow and golden and looking so nice and beautiful, but they're going to become a pest. So please make sure that you use the proper rake, use your fan rake, or use your blower if you have one. But your fan rake is going to help you get up those dead sprigs of grass. So that's why even if you have a blower, I still encourage you to use this in those areas where you get a lot of excessive sun every single day throughout the actual year, because that summer heat has killed off some dead sprigs of grass, and it's going to aid you in getting up that loose stuff. All right. Once you do that, you get all the dead sprigs of grass out. You got your loose leaves of your deciduous trees, the leaves that's fallen down. You have to make a decision. Am I going to bag this stuff up, or am I going to mulch it? There's a couple of ways that you can do it. I recommend you could use you can use a lawnmower, but I always recommend using lawn refuse bags. You can buy those in, I think, a 5 or 6 pack from your local Home Depot. They're biodegradable, so they're really good for the environment. Now, for those of you who have that kind of thick lawn, you got like that thick zoysia or that tall fescue or Bermuda, that Kentucky bluegrass, keep mowing your lawn. This goes for everybody. Keep mowing your lawn until the first frost of your area. And everybody's going to start winter at different points in time. Okay, just depending on where I live in Georgia. So winter for me isn't going to truly hit until November-ish. And even then, I could probably still keep mowing my lawn probably first week of December. But those of you who live in New York or Chicago, much earlier. Probably you got maybe till maybe mid to late October, and it's freezing. You got snow on the ground, so it just will vary. So keep mowing your lawn, whatever your cadence has been, every 2 weeks, or as your HOA may dictate. If you have a homeowners association, just make sure you keep your lawn fresh cut, but keep doing it until the first frost. As those leaves are going to keep coming down, you're going to have to do this maybe a couple of times, especially if you have those really large, tall, overhanging trees. But here's what I want to caution you on. When you mulch the leaves, I do not recommend that you mulch them while they're in a pile in a healthy area of your lawn. If you have a low spot or an area in the backyard where you're like, you know what, I don't really care about the grass back here, that's where I would tell you to mulch your leaves if they're in piles. Other than that, mulch your leaves as they lay if you're going to use a lawnmower to mulch. The reason why is you don't want to create a little micro blanket on top of your grass, which is preventing the grass seed that you may use, the fertilizer that you may use, the water that you're going to want to put down to keep on helping your grass grow. You're going to actually create a micro blanket that's going to help. It's going to actually suffocate, which also could cause brown spots, oversaturation, and yellowing spots in your lawn as well. So if you're going to use a lawnmower, and you're not going to use a rake, you're not going to use a blower, make sure that you put your leaves in piles in areas of your lawn that are kind of like you don't really care about, mainly in your backyard. But I always recommend rake them up, put them in a refuse bag, let your local waste management company pick them up, or you could take to your local landfill for that small cost. That would be my recommendation. But everyone has a different circumstance, so it's going to determine based on what your local needs may be. Now, once we've got that lawn raked up, you got all the loose stuff down, got the dead sprigs out, we feel like all the loose leaves have fallen down. Most lawn companies will tell you to aerate your lawn twice a year. I get mine done twice a year. And what you're trying to do with aeration is to allow your lawn to take a breather. Your lawn is just like, okay, I've done everything I could do this year. I need a little bit of repair. Can you kind of give me a haircut, if you will? And it's not necessarily you scalping the blades off. What's happening is aeration, core aeration, is taking anywhere from a 2 to 4 inch plug. Like think of like a football cleat or a golf cleat. Think of it kind of stepping down in your grass and then pulling that plug up. And that plug is going to just sit on top of your actual lawn. And that's okay. You can leave it right there. You can go over it with the lawnmower. It's totally fine because you're going to let those nutrients go right back into the actual ground. Now, you can pay for a service. You can go to your local Home Depot to their tool rental department and rent one yourself. And there are different versions. There are ones like you see on the screen here where you attach it to some type of mobile device. Could be a lawnmower, could be an ATV, your decision. But most of these, the ones that you're looking on screen, you have to have some type of weight on top of it. Some people use cinder blocks. That's adequate. There are other versions where you can actually just put on a pair of, it actually goes over your shoes. All right. So it actually goes over your shoes like a little added cleat, and you can walk around your lawn, cause those little spikes and those little plugs to come up. You can buy those online. There's another version where it's a handheld version, shorter than a rake, but you're literally just going around and plugging holes in your grass. Now, that's a much more tedious process, but if you have a very small plot of land, like you live in a condo and you share walls with a neighbor, or you have a townhouse, that version is going to be more ideal for you. But I recommend going with the version that's either on screen or renting the gas powered version, one that's a little bit much more heavier. They're probably a couple 100 pounds. So if you're going to go rent one, the gas powered version, make sure that you have an adequate vehicle to actually take it home in. Okay. This is not something that you're putting in your trunk. It's not something that you're putting in the backseat of a car. Ideally, a pickup truck or maybe some form of an SUV, if you will, or if you have a trailer, it's going to be ideal because it is heavy. Okay. But once again, what you're trying to do is pull up those 2 to 4 inch plugs to basically allow that lawn to breathe. And also, when we apply fertilizer, which we're going to talk about next, or if we overseed, it's going to allow those nutrients to get allow them a little bit more easier access to actually penetrate the soil surface as well. Okay, so aeration should be done twice a year, your spring and whenever late summer is for you, wherever you live. Okay, should be doing that twice a year. The reason for this, talk about the fertilization. This is going to be a great time for you to put down whatever this is where that the lawn service or that county extension I mentioned to do the soil testing. This is where they can give you some great recommendations on what composition of fertilizer you should be purchasing. As soon as you do your core aeration, this is going to be a good time for you to go ahead and put down that kind of repair type fertilizer. It could be something that's higher in nitrogen. It could be something that's higher in phosphorus, but it's going to be determined based on what your lawn needs. Two people in the same city, in the same climate zone, could need two different fertilizers. So just because we have the same grass type, just because we have the same zip code, does not mean that we need to use the exact same fertilizer. Our nutritional needs are different. I want you to think from person to person, we all have different dietary needs. Same goes for your lawn, your garden, for your house, not necessarily for your neighbor. Okay, so we just want to make sure we're clear on that. Now, thatch is going to be a heavy opportunity to address, especially in the spring. But how you minimize thatch is by doing the steps that we're talking about in this workshop today. So, fall lawn prep actually prepares you for a better spring result. Less work that you have to do then. Okay. So let's take a quick pause right here. We got some more steps to go through. So right now we're going to get some soil sample testing. We're going to do some raking. We're going to do some mulching, and we're going to definitely do some aeration to prepare us for doing some fertilization and then some repairs. I recommend going with a granular product. Don't go liquid, go granular. And there are a number of brands that you can pick. You can choose Bug Be Gone by Ortho. You can choose Triazicide by Spectracide. You can find all this stuff in store and online. So Bug Be Gone by Ortho, Triazicide by Spectracide. And there's a couple of other brands out there that exist. But the key thing is, to any product that you ever purchase, I don't care if it's grass seed, fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide, read the label. I can't stress this enough, folks. Read the label. It typically, matter of fact, let me show you. Now, this is a what they call an RTU bottle, ready to use, meaning all I have to do is hook it up to my water hose. But that's the slide's fact. What I want you to do, typically on packaging like this, they have a booklet of information on the back of it. It lists all the stuff that it takes care of, whether it's killing something or helping something grow. So this is a weed killer. So what it's showing me is every type of weed that it could possibly attack. So answering the question of what kills thistle, I don't know. Go find something and read the label. It'll tell you if it kills thistle or not. Okay. Same rules apply for pesticides. You will have the same type of booklet that'll tell you what type of bugs it kills. You see anything that says bug be gone or whatever the case may be, read the label because it may not be a one all treats all, but it could be though. I believe that if you've never tested your soil before, I would test it 4 times, 4 total times. Me personally, I would test it now. I would test it next spring. I would test it next pre-fall slash fall, and then the following spring, because you want to see is the composition, the nutrient composition of your lawn, your soil, is it changing? Is it maturing? Is it improving? If there was an opportunity, okay? So track it for a couple of years, every 6 months, your cool season and coming out of your warm season, okay? So do it spring, do it fall. So I'm going to tell you right now, fall is by far the most premier season to get a head start on the premier growing season, which is in the spring. So you do the work now to reap the benefits in spring. Trust me, do the work now, less work later. So look, yeah, great question. I'm gonna answer in this next segment right here. The next couple of slides, I'm gonna answer it. So let's identify grass types. They all look different. Okay. If you live in a warm season area, just look at the map. You try to figure out where do you live? What kind of grass do I have or may I have? Look at the map right here. Okay. If you're anywhere in that warm season area, kind of middle to South Georgia, bottom of South Carolina, Florida, Texas, all that going across all the way over to California, you primarily have a warm season grass. What could that be? That could be a number of different types of grasses. That could be Bermuda, which is a low lying, high traffic, creeping grass. I know it sounds weird. It's a creepy grass, right? But what that does is allow, like when you walk on your grass and you don't want to see those lasting footprints or imprints of whatever it is. Could be a lawnmower. Those warm season grasses, like Bermuda, zoysia, definitely centipede. Centipede is probably, I think, one of the most low-lying grasses. You'll typically see that in the South Georgia, definitely Florida area. I'm originally from Tallahassee, Florida, so this is definitely a prevalent grass down there. Um, Alabama, Mississippi area as well, low-lying grass. Those are great grasses for high traffic areas. So if you have a lot of family activity, a lot of family functions and things like that, it's going to be the ideal grass for you. Okay. So that's a warm season area. If you live in a cool season area, basically anything north from east to west, if you live in north, east to west, Midwest as well, you're gonna probably have some version of Kentucky bluegrass, ryegrass, or tall fescue. Now, there's kind of like this little green buffer zone, kind of like I don't know, the transition belt, the belt of the U.S., if you will. You're gonna have it could be a combination of all the grasses that I just named. As a matter of fact, a lot of people I see in the Kentucky area, Tennessee area, even Oklahoma, I've seen where they have two different grass types. They may have, because of the sun conditions for their lawn. The sun in the front yard gets a lot of sunlight, but maybe the back or the side yard doesn't get much sunlight at all. And so they may put something like a tall fescue in the backyard because fescue can do sun and shade. Whereas opposed to, let's say, a Bermuda grass, it needs full sun. As I mentioned, between my neighbor's house, there's probably between my physical house and my neighbor's physical structure of his house, there's probably maybe 25 feet. And as I mentioned, that area only gets about 2 to 3 hours of sunlight. So that's the area where my grass is super thin. And so when it rains, sometimes it kind of washes out or drowns out the grass that is there. So I do a lot of overseeding in that particular area of my lawn, where everywhere else in my lawn, I never have to overseed or over fertilize at all. And so that may be an opportunity for you to make a decision. Do I even want grass there? Do I do a ground cover like with some pebbles or rocks? Or do I put some type of shade tolerant bush or shrub or tree in that area? As long as it's agreed upon between you and your neighbor, you're not crossing the buffer zone or property line, then you're fine. So that way you're not constantly having to worry about, oh my gosh, this area is so thin. So one, when you go get that soil analysis done by your local county extension, or you ask your lawn service, hey, what type of grass do I have? They can give you some insight, which will help you make a determination on what do you do with certain parts of your actual lawn. Now, the headache, the bane of everybody's existence, weeds. What do you do? How do you do? When do you do? Fall is a great time to put down what they call pre-emergent. Pre-emergent, meaning they have not emerged above the ground. This is the best time. If you've been fighting weeds all season and they kind of start to kind of slow down all of a sudden, you're like, yes, I won. Maybe, maybe you won. Maybe they're just kind of fighting and they're just like, you know what, let's go back to the drawing board underground and it will pop up everywhere else next spring. You will see a lot of fertilizers labeled pre-emergent. So I want to caution you before you go buy pre-emergent fertilizer, before you go buy fertilizer labeled weed and feed, I still want you to go get that soil analysis. Please go get it because you might buy that pre-emergent fertilizer that has too much nitrogen in it. You go apply it right now. It may be the right fertilizer, but it may be the wrong time to apply it. And you put something too high in nitrogen content and then it burns your grass. So while you killed the weeds, you killed your grass too. So putting you back at square one. So I just want to make you aware of that. But pre-emergent, this is the time of year to apply a pre-emergent. I would tell you in your area where you live, don't put a pre-emergent down until you feel like that fall weather is going to be consistent. For here in Georgia, that's when we're in the mid to low 70s. It's also before the ground freezes as well, which is why I still want to keep cutting your grass until that first frost. Okay. So do the analysis. They may make a recommendation because of the time of year that you're going to them to say, hey, while you're thinking about feeding your lawn, think about pre-emergent fertilizers or pesticides, if you will, to take care of what could pop up next spring. And so it's going to be very critical that you do this. All right. But there are weed and feed products out there made by Scott's, made by Vigoro. It feeds the lawn and it weeds out the other stuff. Once again, read the labels. It will tell you which weeds it will take care of. And so what some people also do is they overcompensate. They'll put too much of that weed and feed down, thinking that, oh, you know what? I want to overstimulate my grass and overkill the weeds. No, you want to kill everything. And now you have a bigger problem on your hand. Okay. So I just want to make sure that you know that. Talk about putting lime on the lawn. There's pulverized lawn, there's pelletized lime. So there is the pulverized lime, excuse me, pulverized lime is like, it's like a powder, literally, like looks like baking powder, but it's not. Pelletized is more of a pellet, if you will, little micro pellets, if you will. That can also be determined by getting that soil analysis. Hey, they'll tell you per whatever square footage, however large your lawn may be, they'll tell you, hey, to apply this down. Once again, you're still going to be using a spreader to apply lime. Lime can either help reduce the acidity in your soil, which could also suppress certain types of weeds, but you want to make sure that it's not going to cause you to have to overuse other types of fertilizers because once again, it's helping change the acidity level in your particular soil. So just be very cautious. Don't just apply lime, just all over the place because it may just be a certain part of your lawn based on moisture, based on sun exposure that just may be it and not your entire lawn. So just want to give you some insight. I don't want to give you a cookie cutter. Hey, use it this way, put this much down, because that may not apply to every single person. And that soil analysis is what's going to be critical to doing it. Okay. Also, overseeding the lawn. So remember the steps: soil analysis, raking up, getting those micro layers of your batch, your those old leaves down. We're doing some mulching if necessary, and we're aerating. Do not put down any pre-emergent. Do not put down any grass seed. Do not put down any fertilizer unless you have aerated. Aeration is critical. It's the most critical piece to this. Okay. So why or when do you need to overseed? If you have thin areas in your lawn, like I mentioned, between me and my neighbor's house, that's where I want to overseed. When do I do it? After I've aerated. Okay. I do that twice a year, spring and late summer / early fall. Okay. Those are only 2 times I'm going to overseed. And that's the only area in my lawn I'm going to overseed. If you had those brown spots, those balding spots, those thin spots, that's where. When? After you aerate. Can't stress this enough. After you aerate, folks. Okay. All right. And you don't always have to do it with a broadcast spreader. It could be with bringing back this product again. Could be with the easy seed stuff or One Step by Pennington. They make a great product as well when it comes to their grass seed and for their kind of patch products as well. Okay. Once again, small square footage coverage. This is true extreme repair. You dug out the area where the grubs have eaten away at your lawn, or where the dogs have urinated and caused those permanent brown and yellow spots, or you over fertilize the area, you put too much lime down or something down. Something caused a brown spot that watering is not going to fix. That's when you put this stuff down after you aerate it. Can't stress that enough. All right. We've done the aeration. We've applied whatever essential products, be it for seed, be it for fertilizer. Gotta water this stuff in. If you pay for a lawn service, I don't know if you pay attention, they always put these little stake signs in the front of your yard, letting you know, hey, we've been here to service your lawn. And they will typically say on that sign, please water in product within 48 hours. Because it could blow away, you could have pests eating away at it, and it becomes that much less effective. Now, when should you water? You should water only in the morning, between the hours of sunrise, whenever that is for you in your area, and no later than midday. Now, for some of you, you're like, well, hey, I gotta go to work. That's okay. Go to the store, get a timer, attach to your outdoor water faucet, attach your water hose to it, and at the end of your water hose, attach a sprinkler. Get a timer. I'm telling you, because what happens is when you don't water in the morning time, you're not giving whatever it is that you're trying to water, you're not giving it time to soak in what it wants and the sun enough time to evaporate the excess. When when your area or wherever you're trying to water is oversaturated, you're drowning it. And you're also inviting bad bugs, those grubs you were talking about that you don't like, those beetles that you don't like. You're inviting bad bugs, folks. So make sure that you're only watering during the early part of the first part of the day. Now, I know the question is, well, hold on, Emmanuel. What if it rains at night for a whole week? Well, guess what? You now have an excuse not to water at all. Mother Nature's going to do what Mother Nature's going to do, folks. There's no control over that. All I want you to do is control what you can control. But if you have a consistent pattern of watering in the evening time, because hey, it was 105 degrees today, we didn't water in the morning. Great, you fed the lawn, but now it's full, and you're still feeding it because nothing is evaporating the excess water during the evening hours, and you're inviting bad bugs, which is going to make you spend more money to buy more pesticides. So you're just wasting more time and more money. Trust me on this. Water during the early part of the day. Sunrise to midday is going to be ideal. All right, planting for the fall. For those of you who like those tulips and stuff like that, you can buy the bulbs. If you want to buy from, you want to grow from scratch, you like that gratification of, hey, I put this in the ground when it was a bulb or a seed. You like that gratification? Fall is the best time to do it. You start seeing the racks roll out in the stores. Those fall bulbs going to be a great opportunity for you to have those nice spring blooms. And once again, be mindful of your watering practices. And most of the stuff you don't really need to fertilize unless it's some type of starter fertilizer. But read the labels on the packaging because it will tell you if it's going to be essential for that particular type of bulb. Not every plant is the same. Also, protect the stuff. When it starts to get frozen out there, starts to get cold, people like to use mulch. I personally like to use small pebbles like 89 stone or Mexican beach pebbles because I don't have to replace rock. Mulch I have to replace once every, maybe once every 2 years, 3 years, depending on the area. I don't have to worry about mulch blowing away when I go real aggressive with my blower. I like rocks because they kind of hold down. They also are good for water retention and moisture retention for my shrub beds and for my trees as well. But make your decision. The mulch is more budget friendly, but the rock is forever lasting. You can kind of make a decision there. Sometimes it just depends on grass type, climate zone. Are you fertilizing because there is a deficiency, a brown spot, a balding spot, something like that? When it's summertime, when it's full, and we're talking nationwide. I don't care where you live, Arizona, Oregon, I don't care. And when it's full on summertime, I don't recommend putting any fertilizer down because you run the risk of causing more damage than you will repair. That's just my personal recommendation. Obviously, it makes no sense to put any fertilizer down in the winter because the ground is frozen. It's not going to penetrate the ground the way that you want to. So yeah, so spring and fall are going to be the optimal times where you know you run less of a risk of wasting your money and less of a risk of damaging what you're actually trying to feed and grow in the first place. Honestly, it's more based on sunlight exposure and moisture. Honestly, like I said, for all the types of grasses, well, let me say in the transitional zone, I would probably tell you to lean more towards kind of the cool season grasses, your fescues. You could do some zoysia in there, if you will. Bermuda grass can work, but if Bermuda grass only really works in a transitional area if you've got adequate sun exposure. It loves to sunbathe, folks, and it don't even need no suntan lotion. Let me tell you that right now. So that Bermuda is going to be great for an area that gets nothing but sunlight. But for those shaded areas, that transitional zone, fescue is going to be what I would recommend, or like a bluegrass, Kentucky bluegrass or a ryegrass would be ideal for you. So it's kind of a mix, but once again, having that analysis done for your lawn, they can also make a determination on where you based on where you live on, hey, which grasses will flourish a little bit more without you having too much issue and too much more maintenance. It's a great moisture protector, if you will. And some people believe, oh well, it's going to draw ants. Not necessarily. Actually, it actually kind of helps prevent. Sometimes it prevents weed growth. Now you may have some very aggressive weed types in your area that may, pop up in your shrub bed or something like that. But what weeds or any plant needs, it needs water and it needs sunlight. So with that uh, cover over, if it's rock or if it's actual mulch, it takes out one element for those weeds. They don't get the sunlight. They may get some water, but you kind of can pick them up one by one and pick them out of your shrub bed as you see fit, as opposed to other areas that don't have the mulch on top of them. So they help with moisture retention. They also help with weed prevention as well. But that's why I like to go with rock, because that rock kind of pushes down those weeds that may leave a little bit more. They have a little bit more strength than other stuff will against mulch. So that's why I always like to go towards rock. And once again, I'll have to buy the rock or not. So one thing I do want to make sure I mention, when it comes to aeration, if you're going to aerate and then overseed with grass seed, make sure that you wait about 3 to 4 weeks before you put any fertilizer down, because fertilizer can burn grass seed that has not germinated yet. Now, if you're not going to overseed, you do aeration. You could put your whatever fertilizer you've been recommended or you feel comfortable putting down. You can go ahead and put down the fertilizer I have. But grass seed and fertilizer application, there needs to be at least a 4 week gap to allow that grass seed to germinate. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that I know I didn't say that in that segment, but I want to make sure we're clear there, because that could also be a waste of money if you don't allow that time window between overseeding and fertilization, folks. So hopefully, I know we covered a lot of stuff. Here's the beautiful part. You can always email us at workshopslive@homedepot.com. If we didn't answer your question clear enough or specific enough for your ideal situation, for your home situation, we cover all the things that will be essential for you to do a fall lawn prep to get you ready, rocking and ready. I want to thank you all for joining us. You all could have been doing anything else, but you chose to spend time with us. And we never take that for granted, folks. We hope to see you at our next workshops. Until then, you all have a great day.